Hey everybody, welcome back to the Toy Lines podcast. This is Ian Westhoff, and with me is my good buddy
Tom Romero.
Just want to say thanks for listening. If you enjoy our show, please pass it along to your friends, your parents, your dog. Tell anybody you know. Tell anybody you don't know. And we hope you enjoy this episode. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be talking about cartoons, our favorites, maybe some of our not favorites, maybe some of the ones you grew up with too. Maybe some of the ones you watch now. I mean, I still watch cartoons. What about you, Tom?
Every day.
Yeah. Let's get started.
Transformers just came out with their Siege trilogy. I don't know. I'm old school. I like the Generation 1 stuff back in the 80s. I just can't understand why they can't continue that show. Like, this whole new show has... I guess it's a different take on the war on Cybertron, but... You know, Bumblebee's this badass now, and, you know, he doesn't want to join the Decepticons or Autobots. He's like a freelancer. I don't know. I get it. People want to make new things, but you can make new things while continuing, you know, the old. You don't always have to start from day one, you know? I mean, it's not a bad story. I mean, like I said, it's not really for me, but the animation's okay. I'm not really a big fan of that computer stuff. I'm more like an ink and paint guy.
Yeah, you know, a lot of cartoons are going ink and paint. Going computer. I could be. I guess I'm a snob because I prefer the films of when it comes to animated stuff like Disney and Pixar. There are a few that are not Disney or Pixar that I think are excellent. It's like 3 movies. One of them is Monster House, which is just a great movie. The other one is The Iron Giant, which is based off a book, but it's directed by Brad Bird. It's actually a really good movie.
Yeah, and another thing about the Monster House, the guy that created Scud, the disposable assassin, Rob Schraub, actually created that.
He created Monster House?
Yeah,
Really?
he wrote the first draft. That was the first thing I believe he sold.
No kidding.
And in an interview with Dan Harmon, he mentions that.
Yeah, there's a good cast, and it's just it's an interesting take on a concept of a haunted house. Some good humor in it. I'm trying to think what the third one was off the top of my head, and really can't remember. But we could even say I didn't prepare any of it for this, but like cartoons, almost stop motion films can be considered that. In your average, hand drawn cartoon, it's 24 pictures per second, and that's exactly what they do for stop motion. So yeah, stop motion films or cartoons or claymation or Wallace and Gromit and all that stuff, they're just as good. But I prefer the ink and paint stuff, and even though they're getting away from that, they've really gotten away from that, I still like it. Some of those old, like if you look at the old Disney classics, or they still hold up. The artwork, the animation, just what went into making this is just incredible. It's a real talent. It's a real art form. So somewhat just like stop motion is somewhat forgotten, which is a shame because of how much effort goes into it. If you have the time, try drawing something to animate it, even a flip book, which is the crudest form of a cartoon, and you'll see just the amount of work you got to put into it. And then you kind of I appreciate it more because of those things. But growing up, there are things that reruns of Looney Tunes and Heckle and Jekyll and Tom and Jerry. So a lot of the cartoons growing up when I was a kid were reruns of things from the 30s or 40s, like Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry.
Bugs Bunny just turned 80.
Bugs Bunny. I mean, the Looney Tunes were really our first intro to classical music, if you think about it. And not only
Doc.
Yeah, and it's like they had great scores. The music in them were great. Mel Blanc was just a genius. Another cartoon was like Heckle and Jekyll, which I don't even think you can find anymore. I haven't seen that cartoon in years. Did you ever see that one?
Heckle and Jekyll, yeah, right after Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah, Mel Blanc actually created the laugh of Woody Woodpecker when he was a kid. There's a great biography out on him. Just his talent was incredible.
He was definitely a genius.
He was.
And interesting thing, his son, he comes he's extremely close, but he's not exactly like his father.
Yeah,
Like
and
I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he actually took over for a while for his dad.
yeah, and it's like he really was the man of a thousand voices. I mean,
Mm.
he could do a sputtering car. He could do different characters, Bugs Bunny or Sylvester, and his actual voice sounded like Sylvester the cat, just without the lisp. Did he have a lisp, Sylvester?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he sounded like that, just without the lisp. But sometimes some of the characters he did, they would, even though he would do a voice, they'd speed it up or they'd lower it, whatever. But he was really, really talented. And there's a lot of talented guys out today. I mean, we could spend a whole nother episode just talking about the people who do voice work today.
Actually, there's a good documentary. It's a podcast documentary, actually, from Adult Swim, drawn the story of animation.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it came out 2 years ago. It's really good. I mean, she puts work into it, and I think it won an award, actually.
Oh, well, yeah, I love like learning stuff. I got books on, my wife and I bought about Disney animation. Just Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson put out a book about animating. We bought this used years ago, and I refer to it to this day when I'm like writing an article and I want some kind of information about one of their early films. But one of my favorite old cartoons, Tom. I don't know if you ever saw these or not. There's two of them. Is The House of Tomorrow and The Car of Tomorrow. I think they were Tex Avery cartoons, but they were like basically the future of what a house would be or a car would be. And, it was just all silliness. But if you haven't seen them, I would recommend them. They're great to watch. It's pretty funny.
Do you remember the first cartoon you ever saw?
See, that's like, you know what? That's funny because it's like saying, do you remember the first time you saw Star Wars? So I was 2 when Star Wars came out. Always remember seeing it. I just always remember watching cartoons. So probably not. Okay. I can remember the things I watched. I can remember the things I liked and didn't like. But like the first one, no. Do you actually remember?
I do.
Really?
Surprisingly enough. I came from a good family. Like everybody in America at the time, the TV was the babysitter.
Sure.
I remember it distinctly. I was at my grandmother's house, and she was looking for something for me to keep me quiet. And I'll never forget, it was Channel 11, and it was a black and white Popeye episode.
Oh, wow. Old school.
Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know if it was the amazement of TV, if seeing things move in a box, but there was something about that sailor I'll never forget. I was hooked instantly. I didn't understand I was a child. I was trying to get, figure out all the concepts and stuff. But
listening to what he says too.
Yeah, I got the story. There was a hero, a villain, and a damsel. Basic stuff.
Right.
But I will never forget. And ever since then, I was hooked on cartoons.
Cool.
I mean, I never stopped watching them. Then, Popeye for me was, for a weird term, like crack. Once I got there, then I discovered Saturday Morning and Bugs Bunny. Early on, after Bugs, then I moved on to Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. And then from there, it was just... I think we grew up in a great age where we can slowly, progressively get into cartoons.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if you watch certain cartoons now from Bugs Bunny, even Walt Disney, they took some scenes out, like Pecos Bill. If you watch that episode, I think it was a Silly Symphony, I believe. No, I'm sorry, it was one of them movies with Pecos Bill. He smoked in it, and I believe they took this. They went back and took the cigarette out. They went back and took scenes out of cartoons where there might have been some sort of violence. I don't know. I don't like when they do that. I never smoked.
Exactly. I'm not a barbarian. I don't want to start getting into politics, but they've essentially told parents, listen, we're going to do the job for you. Why bother telling your kid not to smoke? Yeah. Yeah. I grew up with the same cartoons. I'm not a violent person. I've never tried to fly out of my window. I've never tried to be the Human Torch. You just, take care of your kids. They'll be fine.
Well, that was like a great episode of The Simpsons when Marge sees Itchy and Scratchy because Maggie hits Homer on the head with a hammer because that happened in Itchy and Scratchy. This is going back a couple of seasons. Cartoons were violent when we were kids. They were funny violence. You never hit each other like that.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean,
it's like
you know that Bugs Bunny gets shot by Elmer Fudd. 2 scenes later, Bugs Bunny is going to be walking around, nothing. Yeah. He'll be fine.
Like
that. I'm smart enough, even as a child, to realize that's not real.
Yeah, when Daffy gets his shot because of duck season, rabbit season, and his bill is like always
always
it's just
twirling
funny.
around.
Yeah, I was like, I laugh at that to this day. I never thought twice about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Popeye eat spinach a million times, get jacked, and go beat people up, but I know I'm not going to eat spinach, and that's not going to happen.
Do you like spinach?
Trust me. Yeah, my mom pulled that. She's like, you have to eat your spinach. You want to be just like Popeye.
I like spinach, but
I don't want to be Popeye. I mean,
I kind of want to crush it out of the can like he does and fly, shoot it in the air, and I'll catch it in my mouth. It's kind of cool the way he does it. Yeah,
There is a documentary coming out on August 14th, video on demand. I cannot wait for this. It's called Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy. It's the documentary of Ren and Stimpy.
Is this about the downfall, too, of the creator? How
the rise and fall of John K.
Yeah. I just saw that.
I mean, from what I heard, he's maybe somewhat of a perfectionist. He's tough to work with, I've heard. I mean, regardless, man's a genius.
No, that thing was huge. What was that, like 90s? That Ren and Stimpy was like somewhere in the 90s. Yeah. That was huge.
And you can still feel it, their influence to this day on almost any program.
And I think if they went to make it again, I don't know if they did or not, if they rebooted it, it just wouldn't be the same. It's just like when they rebooted Beavis and Butthead to bring it back.
He did it on Spike TV. I guess that's the beginning of the downfall. At least I think so, as a Ren and Stimpy watcher. He was trying to reinvent the wheel again, even though he perfected it the first time. Yeah, at least that's my take on it. It became more adult, which is kind of weird. Wasn't kind of weird, but
he might have just went too far.
That's what I'm thinking. I think he was at the point. I mean, this is all speculation. I think he was just at the point where he wanted his comeback. I mean, Ren and Stimpy got out of Nickelodeon. They were on Spike TV at the time. And I think he just wanted to do shock for shock value.
Yeah, but you know what it might have been, too? If he was on Nickelodeon, they might have said no to all these things he always wanted to do. So what he was allowed to do made the show great. And then when he finally got to do it, maybe that was his vision all along what he did on Spike TV.
Maybe.
It's kind of what they said about Alfred Hitchcock when he so he cut the original version of Psycho and left a lot of the violent, like real heavy violence in, and purposely, because he knew when they went to screen it, they were going to say, all right, you got to take this and out, and he purposely did that so he'd be able to keep the stuff he wanted in. And for 1960, it was a very controversial film. They showed a toilet. They never showed that. If you look at the Brady Bunch, you never really
there's no toilet.
You don't see anything. You don't show a toilet. I mean, for God's sake, it's not like they're pissing in it. Excuse me. But you know what I mean. It's like they wouldn't show a toilet. It's like, and in Psycho they showed that he pushed the limit with that movie.
So there's a misconception that the first couple ever to be filmed together in bed was the Bradys.
Okay.
That's not true.
Is it I Love Lucy?
Nope.
They had separate beds, right?
Yes. It was Wilma and Fred Flintstone.
Oh. And that was another thing as a kid. It's like, when you look at the TV shows, the mother, the parents, separate beds, and it's just like,
right. I mean,
I think it was just
something's wrong there.
It's like they don't want to show them in the same bed. Okay, why? I mean, I know why, but like that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's just censor. The way they censor things back then just didn't make sense. Like, doesn't make sense now. I mean, with some of the things you see, and even the things that get censored now. I mean, you see a whole bathroom in shows now. I mean, it's just.
Well, yeah, you see shows where they're repairing bathrooms.
That's right. You can watch a whole show.
Yeah.
About the history of toilets, if you want.
Watching a couple of documentaries and doing research. There used to be something called the Children's Action Network, and it was ran by a woman named Peggy Sharon. She actually got the people at Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future to hire her as a script consultant. And to this day, not only was she paid for her services, but she didn't change not one word of dialogue. And basically, she just wanted to be famous. She went after He-Man at
Really?
Filmation. Yep. Well, yeah, because it promoted devil worshipping and violence.
Oh, boy.
And
He never did anything. Like is it Lou Scheimer?
Lou Scheimer made sure of that.
He
made
never
sure he
pushed
never
her.
exceeded.
I never saw He-Man cut somebody in half with that sword, and I'm sure it could have.
Oh, easily. I mean, he said there's more violence on the news than in any of his cartoons, and he's right.
Yeah, I mean, to this day.
So she was in charge. She got script approval, or else, I don't know, bad publicity, or she would have done something. So
when she got the position, she was fine.
She can criticize, He-Man uprooting a tree with his bare hands. She's not going to stop like Nazism or interactive violence.
Right.
It's all crap, I think.
Speaking of crap, actually, I wanted to bring up the Star Wars Holiday Special. Not to discuss the special itself, which we probably should do one day, but I just wanted to discuss the animated section. The animation
intro of Boba Fett.
Yeah, the animation was done by Nelvana, which is a Canadian company. I didn't like the way. I mean, it was cool that they had all the original voices. I did not like the way Han Solo looked. His face looked like a horse's, long like a horse.
Yeah, but that was kind of like the animation style at the time.
Yeah,
that was like that 70s popular stuff, like Ralph Bakshi.
Okay,
that type of animation.
The holiday special did something important. It introduced us to Boba Fett, which a lot of the original version of Boba Fett, like the tuning gun rifle, wound up going into the Mandalorian. So that's pretty cool. Like it or not, it's part of Star Wars history. Boba Fett was voiced by two guys in this. I don't understand this at all. Per IMDb, Gabriel Dell and Don Franks voiced Boba Fett. So I don't quite get how that works. But he voiced two people. And then continuing on with like Star Wars cartoons. Granted, today we have tons of them, but back when we were kids, we had that until 1985, which is when we
Droids
had,
and Ewoks.
Droids and Ewoks. Supposedly, again, I don't know if this is true or not. Between the two of those, each episode to produce was 500 to 600,000. Ewoks only ran for 13 episodes.
And now you know why. I mean, think about it. That's $500,000 80s money.
Wicket was in it. He was voiced by a guy named Jim Henshaw, who voiced Tenderheart in the Care Bears. Apparently, also, again, another guy voiced him, Danny or Denny Delk. Not sure of his name. There was one other guy, the guy who did Boba Fett's voice from the holiday special, voiced a character called Dulak Shaman, which I don't even remember. I didn't really watch the show that much, so I'm going to be honest with you. Ewoks took place between Empire and Jedi. Now, droids...
Wait, Dulak Shaman?
Yeah, that's the name. The character's name. That's the character's name.
Oh, yeah, he was the mystic guru in the Ewoks.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't really watch it. I think the toys were cool looking. Droids toys, I think R2 looks the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Droids had 14...
Now, that was a great concept, too. Like, I really got into droids because this is the story of R2-D2 and C-3PO before, the rebellion and any of that stuff. I mean, that's... Believe it or not, if you really think about it, it bridges the gap between where they were in episode 1 and all the way through there. I mean, continuity-wise, I guess it's a little jacked because, he didn't have his coverings yet.
Maybe. What was good about droids was that Daniels did the voice of 3PO.
Yeah, that was awesome. Does.
I think he will for anything, to be honest with you. And Boba Fett had a cameo. Or is in at least one episode. I did try to find out who did his voice, but I couldn't find it on IMDb. But you know what I would like So Lucas made cartoons out of his stuff, obviously droids, Ewoks. Why didn't we get a Willow cartoon? That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah,
More
maybe not enough interest.
Possibly. More importantly, why don't we get an Indiana Jones cartoon? Because at this rate, not even just back then, going on today, with this shutdown, and Harrison Ford's, his age, God bless him, but he might decide not to do it anymore. There's a great trailer somebody made. His name is Patrick Schoenmaker. He did on YouTube, you can look this up. It's called The Adventures of Indiana Jones. It's an animated trailer, sort of like an intro into an Indiana Jones cartoon show. It's incredible. It looks literally like something Lucas would have done. If you want to see something cool, or like what an Indiana Jones cartoon would look like, I'd give that a shot. That would be a great. And this is still something that Disney could be putting on Disney Plus. Like I don't know why they don't do it. To be honest with you, especially Indiana Jones, because I think fans would watch it. I would. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they should go back and find droids and Ewoks for Disney Plus. I mean, honestly, you can't find two more wholesome shows for children.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, droids was a little violent, but no more so than an episode of
Rebels or something.
Yeah.
Right. Some cartoons, Tom. Let me know if you remember these or not. So these are 80s cartoons I remembered watching as a kid. Danger Mouse.
Oh yeah.
So
USA Network, and then afterwards, Banana Man.
Oh, never heard of that one. Mm. So Danger Mouse, I saw on Nickelodeon. That show went on from 1981 to 1992. There was 90 episodes.
Oh, crumbs.
Danger Mouse was voiced by a British actor, David Jason, and Penfold, which was his sidekick, right?
Yeah, little hamster.
Yeah, it was voiced by Terry Scott. It was a British cartoon.
BBC One.
And, not to be outdue, Count Duckula.
Yes, I remember him. Duckula, yeah.
Now, David Jason, who did Danger Mouse, voiced Count Duckula. The show ran from 88 to 93, had, I think, at least 52 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, so Netflix a few years ago picked up the license, and there's a whole new bunch of Danger Mouse cartoons, but doesn't hold a candle to the originals.
Is Duckula in it?
I think there's one episode.
That's cool. What about Inspector Gadget? You used to watch that?
Oh, yeah.
So that went from only 2 years, like 83 to 85.
It went quick, yeah. Geek Entertainment.
Don Adams did the voice. Frank Welker was the dog Brain, Dr. Claw, and
Cree Summer.
Cree Summer, yeah, she did Penny.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that brought into the live action movies. The 1999 Matthew Broderick movie. I didn't see any of these.
Neither have I.
So Broderick was in the 99 movie. The television movie in 2003 was French Stewart. And then apparently in 2015, there was a new Inspector Gadget show. There was 52 episodes made. A guy named, I think his name was Ian Sherry, did Inspector Gadget. And Penny was voiced by Tara Strong, who's done
Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, she's just My Little Pony. She's done a ton of her resume for voice work is just incredible.
Oh yeah. She's big on the convention circuit.
Yeah, they made a cartoon about Rambo
and the Force of Freedom.
Yeah. No.
Well, there's also a RoboCop.
That's true. So Rambo had 65 episodes. He's voiced by Neil Ross. Alan Oppenheimer did a voice in that. Colonel Samuel Troutman, I guess, the guy from the movie. Mm-hmm. And James Avery also did a voice, which I believe he was in Turtles.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to remember this 80s classic, this gem, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling.
Yeah. It came right after, what was it, Bigfoot and the Monster Trucks?
Did Hogan?
It was a Saturday morning cartoon.
It was. Did he introduce the episode?
I think he did, yeah.
Because do you know who voiced him in the show?
No.
Brad Garrett.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know his voice work went back that far to the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I remember him the most of is Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Right.
But I mean,
And most recently, he was Krang in the last Turtles film.
was he really?
Yeah, the last live action one. He played Krang.
No kidding. I didn't know that. He's got he's got a great voice.
Yeah, he definitely has a great voice for voice.
Yeah, his role in Finding Nemo as the blowfish on top of Mount Wanahakalugi. I know another show that you're a fan of, Muppet Babies.
I love it. To this day, I kick myself every time I see the bootleg in front of me. It's usually about $50 to like $75, and for some reason I just keep passing. I was like, not this time. It's such a great show. I mean, when it really took off, what was it, an hour long? I mean, that was unheard of.
You know what's weird? They have a new one on Disney Channel.
Yeah, I've seen
it.
And
it's just not the same. You
no.
know? And here's the thing. On the show, so it's a show ran from 84 to 91. Barbara Billingsley did Nanny, who you never see. You just see her stockings.
Right.
So, but for those who don't know, Barbara Billingsley was the mother from Leave It to Beaver. If you don't know what Leave It to Beaver is, don't worry about it. Howie Mandel did 26 episodes from 1984 to 85. Howie Mandel voiced Skeeter, which is where she was introduced, the twin of Scooter, I believe. They were twins. He did Bunsen, and he did Animal. In 1986 to 91, Dave Coulier, who I remember seeing in a show, this Canadian show called Out of Control. Tommy would always say, cut it out. And Full House. He did the voice of Animal. He continued, took over that role, the character of Bean Bunny and Bunsen. He did 81 episodes. That show is always great because they were always putting in like live action and Star Wars. And there was at the intro when Kermit's swinging like Indiana Jones in front of the boulder.
There was a whole episode about that.
Yeah, that was just great stuff.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
And
then Howie Mandel always had that same voice. I mean, he would change it up, obviously, but like years later, Skeeter's voice was the same voice for Bobby's World.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That type of voice like this. You know, I mean, it was incredible.
You don't know this, but Howie Mandel just walked into our studio, folks. It was very nice of him to make that quick appearance. Cost us for the year.
I just hope it sounded right over the microphone. I sound so weird.
I gotta just say this before I list a few more. Smurfs, obviously. And then the Snorks.
That was another. The Smurfs ran for a long time.
They ran forever, and but like I kind of feel like the Snorks was a rip-off version of it.
They're the same company.
They just had but they had a straw. Like, what the hell's a Snork? They're a round head with a straw sticking out of their head. So like, I mean, they had a lot of popular voice actors, but like, I didn't watch it. I was just like,
yeah, neither did I. I was like, Smurfs underwater.
Yeah.
I'd rather see them above ground. But I'll never forget Smurfs and the Magic Flute. That was my introduction to the Smurfs.
I don't know what mine was, actually.
It was a 2-hour movie. It was a good movie. Yeah, it basically introduced Papa Smurf and what he was about, and two. I guess the one guy was a knight, and the little kid was a squire. Yeah, and he ended up with the flute.
I forget their names too, because they had like a.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but do you remember that game?
Like Johan or something.
Yeah. Do you remember in the 80s a thing called Laser Tag?
Oh yeah, its rival Photon.
That's right. So Laser Tag was awesome. I never had one, but my buddy Rich did. Our friend Rich did, and he only had one gun and one little sensor. Yeah. So nobody had laser tag parties, but they had a cartoon.
Yeah, Laser Tag Academy. In the future.
1 year, 1986.
But get this, Photon had a live action show.
Did you shoot at the show? Could you play with the TV against the TV in that?
I don't think so. But it was an interesting show. That's another bootleg I gotta find. But don't support bootleggers, kids. Yeah, that's only for me. Yeah.
All right. So Tommy, do you remember a show Spielberg produced called Amazing Stories?
Yes, American Dog.
Family Dog.
Family
Yeah.
Dog. Yep.
So American Stories was sort of like your average, your Twilight Zone.
It was
just
like,
not as creepy. It was just like campfire
I
stories
don't.
or something your
Yeah,
grandfather would tell you. And there were some good episodes.
there were. There were some
I wish
really incredible.
I wish
episodes.
somebody would play that. To be honest with you. So Family Dog was on that, on the second season.
And he spun off into his own show.
Spun off into, that's correct. So he was in season 2, episode 16. Amazing Stories. Brad Bird directed the episode.
Right.
Stan Freberg did the husband's voice. Annie Potts did the wife's voice. The design of the dog, the animation design, was done by Tim Burton. So if you look at that and then you look at Frankenweenie, you're going to see.
Oh, it's the same dog.
Same dog, yeah.
Yeah.
Same
I'll
dog.
never.
Yeah,
that was a great show. That was one of the shows that my mom. Why is this cartoon on at night? So she intervened and she's like, "Let's watch it together, just so I know it's appropriate for you." Because we were young when Family Dog came out.
Yeah, I remember. So it came out. Martin Mull did the husband's voice later on, and
I'll never forget that. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'll never forget that one episode where I may be crisscrossing them, but there's an episode where all the dog wanted was a drink of water. That's it. The whole episode is just him trying to get a drink of water. And I'll never forget the dog's like in the middle of the carpet or living room. He lifts his leg and all of a sudden he just starts urinating right in front of everybody.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah.
They only did 10 episodes though of the show.
Yeah. Apparently it wasn't a ratings hit.
I remember back when Saturday Matinee was a store. This is back when VHS was around. I remember tracking down like 3 VHSs of the show. That and Beetlejuice I remember getting. Trying to track down those. Just back then, they didn't always sell the entire series of a cartoon show. You're lucky to get a couple episodes.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, it was a dark time.
Well, back then, VHS was $50 an episode.
Well, this is actually in the 90s, too. So they didn't even carry it. They had to order it for me. Tommy, what do you think? This is my dream I would love to see happen. Gargoyles meets the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's a great crossover, yeah.
I would love to see that. It'll never happen, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nickelodeon really needs to up their game now. Because, I mean, all the kids that saw the original Turtles are all grown up now. I would love to see color or black and white. It makes no difference. I would like to see like a Mirage, like a hardcore Mirage Turtle series.
See, that would make sense if they put it on like a streaming service.
Yeah, they touched upon it in Turtle Power, the last, direct animation show before Nickelodeon took over.
Oh, is that when they're like, "Hey, let's go get some pizza"? And at the end of it, the two.
Well,
it was they all the different
turtle
versions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
some turtles actually, meet another generation of turtles.
So, Tom, what about you? I've kind of babbled on about some of the things I liked. What cartoons, old and new?
I'll be honest with you, very rarely will I run into a cartoon that I didn't like.
Actually, I got to ask you this. Did you like Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
I hate Scooby-Doo. I don't know why.
Really?
I like, my wife likes it. I just don't like it.
Watch Mystery Incorporated. The ghosts are real.
Oh.
Like, yeah. They don't just,
Is that
I
new?
mean, 2 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's more of a grown-up Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, and it's like they got Scooby-Doo, they got Scrappy-Doo, they got who's that guy? Scooby-Dum?
His cousin. Yeah,
that's kind of mean. Poor dog.
It was a different time.
It was.
Yeah.
So okay, I just had to bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Popeye was my intro. After I saw that, I was hooked. I was trying everything, and I never found fault in a lot of them. Popeye, Bugs Bunny. Then I got into Disney. Then I discovered action cartoons, like Thundar the Barbarian or the Herculoids. You know, I even enjoyed Josie and the Pussycats in Space.
Okay.
I was like, you know what? The hell with live action. You know, this is my arena right here. This is my, you know, my tome. You know, and just anything cartoons. You know, and then later on, I discovered that, you know, cancellations and limits, and I mean, I was heartbroken. I didn't think that existed. Cartoons. That's the reason how I started reading comic books.
Okay.
Because back then I was like, oh my god, look, they're up to 300 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. This is never going away. You know, so I'll just start reading comics. You know, and then, you know, once again, I found out about cancellations and, you know, reboots and all that other stuff. But I'm sidetracking. Loved the Herculoids growing up. I mean, I was a huge Hanna-Barbera fan, which led me to Filmation. I mean, to this day, Lou Scheimer is still one of my heroes. He created He-Man, Brave Star, you know, Black Star. I mean, for a while, he was the king of Saturday morning, you know? He taught me about diversity, about Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids.
Oh, they did that show?
Yeah.
Filmation?
Yeah, that was a Filmation show. So much so that Lou Scheimer himself voiced some of the kids.
Really? I thought Bill Cosby did. Or he did some?
He did some. He didn't do all of
them. I didn't know that.
Like Dumb Donald, I believe that was Lou Scheimer.
Okay.
Cartoons were, you know, didn't have a limit. It was just, cartoons can take you anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's like reading a good book. You know, instead, you know, I'm a little lazy because I'm not using 100% of my imagination, but that was the basis for a lot of things in my life. I mean, I always wanted to know where it came from. I discovered drawing. Found out later on in life I can't draw, you know, a decent stick figure, so that's out. Yeah. But someone told me, well, you know, somebody writes these. I was like, well, what's writing? And that's when I got hooked. That's when I put, you know, started putting pen to paper and actually using my imagination.
You're like, I can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I can write the cartoons.
Oh yeah, I was so happy that I found old cartoons as well. Like I discovered them, like Space Ghost. Herculoids. You know, I mean, these concepts were all brand new to me at the time, and that's what made them so exciting. I mean, I can still watch them and get that same excitement, even though, you know, the plot was, you know, just
cheesy.
You know, aliens come from, you know, a different planet. You know, we need to protect our village. You know, let's go beat them up. Nowadays, we see that stuff. We respect it so much. I mean, I would love to see another updated Herculoids, even a movie. I mean, that's a great concept. I mean,
is that the thing that looked like Chewbacca? Sort of.
No, that's Thundar.
Okay.
Thundar was made by Alex Toth and Jack Kirby.
Huh. He didn't look like Chewbacca, but I always felt it was a Chewbacca ripoff.
Yeah, Oogla the Mock. Yep. No, Herculoids was a Hanna-Barbera cartoon back in the 60s. It was about a family. I'm trying to remember. Dorno, Kara. I can't remember the father's name. But they had, you know, they lived on a distant planet, and they had creatures that, you know, inhabited the planet.
Kind of Herculoids. It looked like a Triceratops, sort of.
Yes. And it would shoot, fireballs.
Right?
Yeah, it'd shoot fireballs. Okay. And then it had a dragon and a rock monkey.
A rock monkey.
Yeah. Igloo. And then
did the two...
Those guys, yeah. Bloop and Gleep.
Yeah, they're like two snots, basically.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Bloop and Gleep.
Yeah, those were awesome. And then they came from the same studio. But then I discovered Space Ghost. Basically a space cop with two kids following him, and he can turn invisible and shoot stuff with his hands.
So Space Ghost actually did stuff. He was a hero.
Yes.
When they did Coast to Coast, the talk show version,
mm-hmm.
That wasn't really much.
Oh, no, that was flat out comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like that show?
Coast to Coast?
Yeah.
It was okay. I thought it was a little too goofy for me, but I liked how they handled Brack. Brack really made that show.
The alien, right?
Looked
like a praying mantis or something?
Red one. No, that was Zorak.
Okay.
Zorak was basically like the band leader for a talk show.
Okay.
He would just he'd either give Space Ghost crap or just go along with what he was doing.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the 70s. Then we got into the 80s. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. This is how much I love cartoons. I used to watch the Jackson 5.
I remember that, yeah.
The Brady Bunch. And, then we start getting into Super Friends. That was my first intro into the whole DC universe. Like, I knew about Superman. I knew about Batman. Had no idea who Green Lantern was till that show came around. Apache Chief, Aquaman. I mean, I'll be honest. I think that might have been the first time I found out about Wonder Woman.
Did you watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends?
I loved it.
That was a great show.
Yeah, loved it. I'm trying to think. Those actually might have been the first mutants I ever saw. Iceman and Firestar.
Yeah. There was a Frank... Well, was it Frank Welker who did Iceman's voice?
Yeah, Frank Welker did everything.
It was like his normal voice, like it does for Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even a voice change there. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be Fred's voice for this.
I mean, Frank Welker is a genius.
I mean, his animal noises alone.
Oh yeah, and then you start getting into like serious stuff, like actual stories. Because I mean, back then, like I said, in the 70s stuff, the stories were kind of simple. Mm-hmm. We get into the 80s, and I mean, I'll never forget. I fell in love that day when I saw Prince Adam lift up his sword. I mean, from then on, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But we started getting into like real stories. Price of Power. He-Man thought he killed a guy, and so he realizes, or Adam takes it so hard that he actually gives up the power sword. This is the first time also that we see He-Man revert back into Adam. Transformers the movie, just a game changer. One of the good guys actually dies. Like, it was kind of funny because I'm not big on change, but every other trailer I used to see about that movie was, does Prime die? Does Optimus die? And I was like, hey, you better not. We went to the movie, and I'll admit, I don't care. I got choked up when Optimus died. I mean, I didn't lock myself in a room like some other kids did, but I mean, but it was an eye-opening moment. I was like, I could get hurt. The good guys can lose. Thundercats, He-Man, obviously. Silverhawks was good. One show I enjoyed, I don't think it ever got the respect it should have gotten, or even they made it goofy. But I guess if you really think about it, you can understand why. Cops, the Central Organization of Police Specialists, is based on a toy line that Hasbro came out, created by, well, not created, but Bart Sears was the show's designer, as well as the toy line designer. The show itself was goofy, and you're dealing with police, so yeah, I mean, it's not going to be Hill Street Blues, especially at that time. But I think that's one show I think deserves a reboot. I mean, with the social climate, unfortunately, it's never going to happen. But at the same time, you can also use the social climate to make that show work.
Right.
You had Long Arm. I mean, the leader of Cops is an African American. He's an FBI agent. I mean, what better way to unite two forces?
Right.
GoBots. That was goofy, but it was fun. It could complement the toy line. And I get it. A lot of stories or shows back then, people thought was just half-hour commercials, which I think is just ridiculous. Larry DiTillio, they interviewed him for the He-Man documentary, and they brought up that question. They're like, well, people think He-Man was just a half-hour cartoon or a half-hour commercial. And Larry's response was, well, you're wrong, because I'm making a half-hour story. Right. I'm entertaining people. I'm not. The nice thing, and it shows, the nice thing about Filmation and when it comes to Masters of the Universe was Luke could give, he could care less about selling toys. And he'll flat out tell you, he wanted to produce an animated show that was great for kids. He wanted to entertain. He didn't want to sell toys,
Is Filmation still around?
No, Filmation, they closed up in the late 80s. And
really?
Revlon at the time purchased them.
Revlon,
the makeup company. Yep.
Really?
Yep. The makeup company purchased them. Didn't know what to do with them, so they sold all the rights and the shows.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Stick with makeup.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all these companies, they try and diversify, and then they end up in a situation where they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon. Yeah, so that was the end of Filmation. But it's so weird. Like, there's a lot of shows you can't find on DVD. Like, I can't remember the last time, or if any time now I think about it, I saw Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids DVD. Yeah. I mean, other than a bootleg.
That's a good point. They don't play that anywhere, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, because of the Bill Cosby stuff.
Yeah, but even before that, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, it was really hard to find something like that.
They made the live action movie.
They did, yeah.
So you would think maybe they would have released it then, capitalized, but
they didn't. I mean, I don't know who owns the rights, because I know for a long, long time, Bill Cosby owned the rights to the Little Rascals.
That's correct, yeah.
And he didn't want to release them because of how they portrayed Buckwheat.
That's right, yeah.
So I don't know if he still has the Cosby Kids. I mean, it was his own. It was his own creation. So I have no idea why you can't find Fat Albert right now on DVD or on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's probably on YouTube though, I'd imagine.
Oh, sure.
Somebody threw it out there.
And then that's just a taste of the 80s. Then we get into the 90s. We're teenagers. The year of Beavis and Butthead. Liquid TV.
Liquid TV was a great show.
Oh, it was awesome. I'll never forget that episode of. There was one with a race car driver. I can't remember the title of it, and he's just flat out gunning it. I mean, his manager's over his radio telling him to slow down, and he's just going and going. I mean, he's going so fast, the car that he's driving starts to fall apart.
That's cool.
The skin off his face is not only elastic. I mean, it's starting to peel. That's how fast he was going. I mean, this was, like I said, it was a good progression. We started off with Bugs Bunny, and now I'm watching a guy get his face torn off.
I always liked the stick figure theater.
Yes,
I thought it was great because they would do they did Night of the Living Dead, they did an Alfred Hitchcock thing, they did Cyrano de Bergerac, and everything was just stick figures, but it was. And there would be on lines paper and stuff like that, but it was just great. It was just it was one of my favorite parts of the show, was stick figure theater.
Yeah, and what made it great? It was entertaining.
Yeah, it was only a half hour. They weren't long.
Right. They weren't worried about, how's this going to affect the children? How is this? I mean,
they were just showcasing talent.
Exactly. It was entertaining. Kids understood it if you were young enough, because I mean. I remember, I knew for a fact I shouldn't have been watching this. Heavy Metal, the movie. Okay. It came out in the 80s, and I thought it was just a regular cartoon.
I think Ivan Reitman produced that.
Possibly. Yes. Well, I know John Candy did the voice of Orm.
Did he really?
Yeah. And look, I admit, I don't know. I don't remember how I got upon this, but it was probably HBO.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably one of those days on the weekend, because, you're, 5 or no, maybe 8 or 9. You're still hyped up back then. You didn't really crave sleep. and hey, you know what? The TV's in the living room. Everybody else is asleep. I'm going to throw on some late night HBO. So I was like, oh, cool, a
Cartoon film.
cartoon. Yeah, a cartoon movie. Boy, was I wrong. I mean, they were talking about themes, and I was seeing stuff that I shouldn't have been seeing. I admit it. And I mean, that whole thing with the glowing orb in the middle of the night that possessed the little girl, and she was terrified. Oh my god, that
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 was
haunt,
art.
that haunted me for years.
Was that
But believe it or not, as when you're older and you can understand these things, hey, this is a great movie. This is about a kid that gets possessed, gets thrown into a different planet, and he grows up, and that was just one aspect of it. And then you start desensitizing, I guess is the right word, because that animation, like that horror aspect of it, that to me was more terrifying than any slasher film.
okay?
I mean, it wasn't too graphic. I mean, it didn't really kill her, but you can actually see the terror in this girl's eyes from this green orb that was, basically torturing her. My wife thinks it desensitized me, but stuff like that doesn't bother me. And I could safely say perhaps part of the reason why I'm so desensitized to that was because I saw that movie. Like I could watch a person being tortured and well,
Not that you do.
right, but not I don't endorse it, but if I see something like that, it won't affect me. I mean, that's a whole different podcast, folks, but yeah, stuff like that. I was on a tangent. I forgot where I was going with it. Oh, and then we get into the 90s, Batman the Animated Series.
Excellent show.
Paul Dini, Bruce Timm, they took Batman and did it justice,
It was right after the '89 movie, and it was just like what, a year after, and a year or two after, and they had an actual score for every episode.
Yeah.
Not the same score. Each episode had its own new music.
But they brought a seriousness to not only Batman but to animation as well.
Yeah, and they gave it, and it had a story.
Exactly.
Every episode had a story. About. What was actually really good was Batman Sub-Zero.
Yes,
that was a great Batman animated film. I'll never forget that one. That was really
Mask
good.
of the Phantasm was also a great film. Just people didn't go see it, though.
What was the Return of the Joker for Batman Beyond?
Oh my god, I love that movie.
That was really good. When you finally find out how the Joker returned, you're like, what the?
So there's a flashback scene in Return of the Joker where that's the scene where Robin kills the Joker.
Right.
And he's sitting there and, he's laughing and he's laughing. And then all of a sudden he bursts out into tears. He drops to his knees. Andrea Romano was the voice director of that feature. That actor that played Robin didn't have it in her, I guess, or him. I guess it was like he or she couldn't reach that emotional part. Could you believe that Andrea stepped in for that sequence? That's all her, and it was incredible, haunting, beautiful, sad, all at the same time, and she pulled it off. I mean, I love that scene every time I see it. I love the scene in that movie where Joker finds out that Batman's Bruce Wayne, and it takes place in a movie theater. Mm-hmm. Batman jumps right through the glass. The projector falls, and it's playing the movie right off Batman and the Joker as they're beating each other up. I mean, the whole sequence is beautiful. Yeah. Return the Joker. That's one of my all-time top 10 movies. You start seeing like shows geared for adults, not exactly adult themes, but you're seeing The Max, King of the Hill.
Simpsons.
Oh, The Simpsons have been on forever.
Yeah.
You
know
what's interesting about The Simpsons? You can actually see the
growth of the show.
Yeah, over time.
The voices and just
the voices, the
way
people
they've
lost.
Yeah, that's true.
All the changes. I mean, we'll never see Abu ever again. or Apu,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Troy McClure,
Troy
Joe
McClure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. One of the cool things I always thought about The Simpsons is kind of like a time machine or a time capsule.
Yeah, it's true.
They've always managed to reflect what's going on in that time period. And that's amazing. That's a gift.
Yeah, not many shows can do that.
Oh, no. Then you even see animation shows that could, like Futurama. How many times did that get canceled and then come back in a different station?
Right.
You can say the same about Family Guy. Family Guy was dead in the water until it hit DVD. Everybody was buying up the DVDs, and all of a sudden Fox was like, let's bring it back. I don't know. Family Guy for me kind of lost its steam. Like those early seasons were fun, but the later stuff I'm just not into. Like I think the last Family Guy episode I saw was when Brian died and comes back to life. Yeah, so him and Stewie are playing street hockey, and this car out of nowhere just runs him over and he dies. Maybe it was for shock value. I have no idea, but I actually like American Dad more than Family Guy.
So what did you think when you first saw Samurai Jack?
Oh my God, I couldn't wait. I remember the exact day too.
Because there's each episode, like he's got this journey, and then throughout this series, the journey, there's these little episodes, and the action sequences are incredible. Just or
the artwork itself,
the artwork, the silence sometimes.
The voice acting. I mean,
Phil Lamar's great.
Oh, he's incredible. That last season of Samurai Jack, since episode 1, the whole thing is a masterpiece. I think it's just beautiful.
And it's you could do a show and have like a really good run and have some terrible episodes. Yeah, but I think for the most part, that show was like hit every episode hit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which is very, very rare for a show.
Yeah. And Gendy Tartakovsky he never shut it off. Like the show I love right now, Primal, no dialogue. It takes place, in I'm assuming maybe the Stone Age. It's about this caveman who lost his family. He teams up with this T-Rex who lost her family, and they're just trying to live each day in through this life they were given. I mean, it is such a metal show. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I had a terrible week this week. One that I needed some alone time, so I curled up on my couch, put on. You can watch it either on the Adult Swim app or HBO Max. Put on the last episode of Primal. I mean, you think you have a rough day. This poor guy just lost his family, his children. So that's touching. I mean, you have to see it to fully appreciate it. But he has to save his T-Rex now from these ape men that are jacked up on some black liquid. Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's tired of losing stuff. Obviously, he doesn't want to lose anymore. So he rips out of these bandages that they've entrapped him. He drinks all this black liquid. He hulks out basically, jumps and just bashes. I mean, it's extremely graphic. So I mean, this isn't your usual Tartakovsky's fare. I mean, he's the same guy that made Transylvania Hotel.
Yeah, Hotel Transylvania. Yeah.
Oh yes, thank you. I mean, it's brutal. It is flat out brutal. I mean, I'm not gonna spoilers. I mean, he goes after the ape that beat up his T-Rex. He rips his arms right off, and then he starts beating him with the same arms with the arms. I mean, it's right now. It's my favorite show. I mean, I swear by this show. I'll put it to you this way. I love this show so much. I got married to watch 2 episodes.
She like it?
She said she found it enjoyable or amusing was the term she used. I mean, well, she's not big on violence and stuff like that, but she also doesn't, she doesn't like violence, and she doesn't want to cry at the end of the show either. She just wants to be entertained.
Right.
That's fair. But she was like, "You actually like this?" And I was like, "I love this." Right now, in this point in my life, I mean, this is the show for me. I mean, all this guy, I can't wait till it comes back. I mean, you want to see some pretty interesting concepts, this is the show for you to watch. Now, if you haven't watched it yet, give it at least one episode.
And so you said there's
and
no.
don't, you know what? I take that back. Give it 2 episodes. Watch the pilot. Pilot's very heartbreaking. Yeah, you're gonna be in tears at the end of the pilot. And any other show, because it doesn't really follow
continuity
linear
or anything.
No, yeah, nothing like that. I mean, you can watch episode 1 and episode 3, and you're not gonna miss a beat.
Okay.
But I mean, the concepts they have in this. I mean, the artwork's beautiful, but the stuff these 2 guys run into, and then it's just a daily, a day in the life of a caveman.
Yeah, he's trying to survive.
Yeah, I mean, kids. I don't recommend it for kids, but if a kid happens to see it, it's not gonna mess them up.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, it'll make them a great tattoo artist. But it really makes you think. I mean, your day is bad. Think about this poor guy. His whole day is spent on finding food, shelter, warmth,
Right.
Basic necessities. And now he's got to combat, ape men. When he goes swimming, he's got to combat, things that live in the water. When he goes through a forest, there's other stuff. I'm trying to do it justice without spoiling anything.
Right.
But yeah, I love this. I love Primal. I can't wait for the other stuff or the rest of the season. I hope it didn't get canceled. And then flip of a coin, you have Rick and Morty. Who, believe it or not, if you really think about it, this show makes you think. You have this grandfather who abandoned his family when he was younger. His daughter has father issues. All through the prism of comedy. So that's where I'm up to right now as far as animation. Excuse me. There's a ton of stuff we haven't even covered.
I gotta say, I love. It was only 2 seasons. I wish it was longer, but it's on Disney Plus. Gravity Falls.
Oh yeah, Mary loves that.
There are things in the first episode that have a meaning later on. The show is great. I love that show. That's one of my favorite shows. That's one of the ones that you could watch over and over, and it doesn't get old. It doesn't. You kind of like pick up new things, and it's just. I wish. I kind of wish there was a show like that when I was a kid, but it's just like you really could enjoy it as an adult.
Yeah,
because it's like you could appreciate everything that's been going on and hinted at, and the first time you watch it, trying to put things together and what does this mean? What does that mean? Yeah. That's a great show.
Along the Disney lines, Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Mm-hmm.
I love that show. That show, I mean, the first time I saw it, I saw it with my goddaughter, and we were watching it, and I'm like, this might be a little bit too much for her at her age. But then, I started watching it, and I started getting it. Yeah, this is, flat out children's show. But it had some interesting themes. Right. I was like, wow, this is a great Disney show. I mean, you could put this along next to Gargoyles almost.
Yeah, and Gargoyles is heavy with the continuity.
Speaking of Gargoyles, I just saw an episode that a lot of people were like, oh, it's the greatest episode ever. It was the one where I want to say Manhattan. He was the big fat one. I forgot his
Hudson.
No, Hudson was the old guy.
Broadway?
Maybe it was, Broadway. Broadway was, he saw his first movie. It was a Western, and he was all into guns.
Oh, yes.
What's her, the cop lady?
Eliza?
Thank you. Yeah. Eliza invites him over to make him like a dinner or something, and he sees her gun because she's a cop. So he starts messing with it, and he shoots Eliza.
Yeah.
And the whole episode is about, is she going to live? I mean, how great! I mean,
That's
not
pretty heavy
only
for the '90s
it
for a
was,
kid show for Disney.
but you know what? Yeah, but you know what? You got to applaud Disney for putting that out there.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, they're showing kids. Listen, once again, good guys get hurt.
right,
You know, or even as an accident. I mean, if I were to teach a kid anything about guns, I'd make them watch this episode first.
right.
I mean, it was an incredible episode. I was really surprised,
Yeah,
especially as a Disney half hour cartoon.
yeah. That was like their Batman animated.
Yes.
Like that was like their hit that I don't think they realized they had. To this day, their people are still fans. That Rick Baker actually designed a prototype for a live action movie.
Yeah.
For Goliath, and there was all these things, and people want it.
The guy that wrote the new Justice League or Young Justice for the DC app.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the head writers of that show. He also wrote the comics.
Okay. Oh, Greg
yes,
Weisman?
Greg Weisman. Thank you.
Yeah, he's the creator of it.
Right. He wrote a live action screenplay.
Yeah, he would love to bring it back. I mean,
I'm sure. You know what? Disney. This is the stuff Disney Plus should be doing. This is the stuff they should be looking into.
You could watch the original series on Disney Plus.
Yes,
it's on it right now. So if you want to relive your childhood, definitely go watch it. You could see that episode, like you said. But yeah, that was it's a heavy cartoon for Disney to do. They don't really come out with stuff like that. It's surprising for the time. Surprising to this day.
You know what? Yeah, it is. But then, like I said, you're watching like Gravity Falls. That kind of heavy. Star versus the Forces of Evil. That gets into some stuff. So Disney's getting there. They're just taking their time with it.
And they kind of have to. Who they are. It's like people are ready to complain about it to them at the drop of a hat, at the drop of a Mickey hat, so to speak. Yeah. So yeah, they don't really get much. They don't get a break.
So that we're gonna
have to do a part 2.
Yeah, we're gonna hash back to this topic because I mean we just like literally just skinned the surface. That's how much we love animation, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just like a speck on the giant planet of knowledge we have about our favorite shows.
If you liked the episode, let us know. If you didn't, we're going to pretend you did, and we're going to do it. We'll do another one anyway.
Yeah, please. I'm sorry, Ian. This is a topic. I'm very passionate about toys.
I haven't seen Tommy talk this much about something.
But, you know, it's funny you said that. Somebody I grew up with said, "This is the most I've heard you talk ever." I'm very passionate about this. You know what? We're working on, believe it or not, spoilers. We're working on getting some people to talk with us about this subject. People that have actually worked in the animation industry. So stay tuned and please join the conversation. toyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know. Find us on Facebook. Shoot us anything on Twitter. We're always on there.
Here's the thumbs up.
So, along those lines, Kevin Smith just announced he's doing a Green Hornet.
I saw that, yeah.
Cartoon series.
Cartoon, yeah. He didn't get to do his movie, so maybe this is, because he was going to direct the Green Hornet movie at one point.
Right.
So maybe this is, maybe the He-Man thing worked well for him.
Yeah, which is good for a lot of levels. Green Hornet originated as a radio series by George W. Trendle in the 1930s. His story of Britt Reed, the wealthy owner and publisher of a fictional newspaper, the Daily Sentinel. Along with his duties at the newspaper, he would fight crime at night with his sidekick Kato.
Do you know who his uncle is? Like a great uncle?
No.
The Lone Ranger.
Britt Reed's or
yeah, Britt Reed.
Trendle. Oh wow.
Yeah, the Lone Ranger. The Green Hornet is his like great nephew or whatever, the time lapse is. But yeah, they're related, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
That is cool. According to Smith, it's they're going to be jumping back and forth. They're going to see the original Britt Reed and then the current version, which is, I guess, his son. And then Kato has a daughter, and she takes over.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. Snake Eyes movie got pushed back to 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing new. Back to the Future is coming out with a new 4K set, which is including auditions from Ben Stiller, C. Thomas Howell, and John Cryer.
That's cool. Cryer said on his Twitter feed the other day how he auditioned, and this is back in the early drafts of the script, how the time machine was a refrigerator, and that one of the things, actually, in this draft, what powered the machine was Coca-Cola, which is very, very strange idea.
Now, isn't that like a Spielberg trope? Like, didn't he do something like that in Indiana Jones with the fridge?
Well, yeah, but I don't really consider that them connected, because what happened was, one of the things that in their original early drafts of Back to the Future was, when it was the refrigerator, they were going to have him at the dropping of the atomic bomb to generate the power to send him into the future. So it's kind of like getting to 1.21 gigawatts from the bolt of lightning. Him hiding in a refrigerator, a lead-lined refrigerator, during a test blast of the atomic bomb on a test site, probably should have killed him. If you're flying in the air and crashing, and you're coming out, and you don't have one broken bone, you're not bleeding, that whole scene was just, oh God.
Okay, so do you remember Batman Death in the Family?
Yeah, when Jason Todd dies.
Yes. And do you know how he died?
Oh, Joker beat the shit out of him with a crowbar and then blew him up.
Right. Joker wasn't the only one.
There's the fans.
Exactly. So
people, why'd you do that? That's terrible.
October 13th of this year, DC Animation's releasing the animated version of Batman Death in the Family. Get this. Here's something interesting. People can kill Robin again. It's fully interactive. It's going to be the first of its kind from Warner Brothers Animation. Comes out October 13th. So you can either choose to have Joker kill Robin, or maybe there's an alternate way you can do it where Robin actually lives, finds his mother.
Yeah, I remember that issue. I remember that.
Yeah,
I did not call though. That's probably why I could have been the saving number that kept him alive. Let's go.
Yeah. Right. So, believe it or not, folks, this is a show about toys. So, NECA Toys. Oh, speaking of which, pause what you're doing to this show. Go to thenecashop.com. Order your Raza and Tokar action figures that you saw from last year's Toy Fair. They're $69.99. It's direct to market. This is NECA's answer to all the bots that have been plaguing Target. This is why you can't find your Ninja Turtle movie figures, your Metalhead figures. Support this, because Randy even told Pixel Dan about this recently, that if this is a success, direct to consumer, they're going to come out with bigger things. Like,
cool.
I'm thinking we may see a movie Turtle Van through this.
Cool. Yeah.
So stop what you're doing. Order Toka and Razar, for your collection. Incredible figures. We saw them firsthand at Toy Fair. I mean, these things are beautiful. I'm not going to sell them for them, but I mean, they sell themselves. As soon as you're done ordering them, thank you, and then put us back on and finish the rest of this episode. So NECA has teased that they may have the license to both The Boys live-action TV show on Amazon Prime and They Live, the movie that Ian loves.
Yeah, They Live is just Roddy Piper, man. At his greatest. Was it Keith David? Goliath's voice. He was in it. John Carpenter. It's a hell of a film. Yeah, Roddy Piper. It's got one of the longest fight scenes ever. Just when they're in the alley fighting, beating the snot out of each other. Great movie. There's been some rumors about Gremlins, which is kind of cool. So it's been announced for a while about a Gremlins 3. Chris Columbus, the guy who wrote the first movie of Gremlins, and the second is involved, the third script. One of the things I didn't know until recently was the original script for Gremlins was much more of a horror story. When Warner Brothers got involved, they kind of toned it down, played more on the gore happening to a gremlin. In the original draft, when gremlins go evil, or the Mogwais go evil, Gizmo is actually the ringleader of evil gremlins. It was Spielberg who said, let's leave Gizmo, leave him as a gremlin, don't let him change. And so they came up with Strike. Just smart move by Spielberg. The guy's just genius. So there's also another one coming out on HBO Max. It's going to be a prequel to Gremlins. It takes place in the 1920s in Shanghai, and it's about a 10-year-old Sam Wing. Now, Sam Wing is a gentleman who owns the Gizmo the Mogwai in the beginning of Gremlins, the old man. Jack's Pacific is in pre-orders right now for an item that's coming out in September 2020. This is a Gremlins countdown calendar. So think of it as like an advent calendar. It's got 31 days. You can use it for anything, whatever you want. And it's designed to look like the movie theater from the first Gremlins. And every day you open up one chair, or you can do it all at once. It's up to you. And inside, underneath that chair, is a 1-inch figure or accessory. This is actually really cool. Gremlins has just been getting ballpark, knocked out of the ballpark with merchandise lately. The only thing I haven't seen, even from NECA, is I'm glad they're only doing Gremlins, because they haven't done Billy, which is played by Zach Galligan, or they haven't done a Phoebe Cates character. And I think it's kind of cool that they just stick to the Gremlins, because they're really the stars of the movie.
Yeah, I always said people get in the way.
Yeah, I'm glad with what they're doing. From you Star Wars Mandalorian fans, there's a Monopoly version of Mandalorian. It's called Monopoly Star Wars: The Child. I kind of prefer it to be the Mandalorian, to be honest with you, instead of the Child. Any Tron fans? They're making the Tron Light Cycle ride in Disney World. It's going to be so cool. San Diego Comic-Con Diamond Select, they released a Tron figure. I forgot to mention this last week. This thing is so cool looking. It looks like the original toy. The figure has colors of an old VHS design, and it comes in a VHS box. He's 7 inches tall. He reacts to a black light, just like in the movie, how their suit kind of lit up, which is really cool. Comes with multiple identity discs with energy effects. It's priced at $39.99 and is pre-ordered to ship August 2020. A few Hocus Pocus fans of Disney, and that movie's been getting more and more popular each year. Q-Figs is coming out with something that's exclusive to either the Disney Store or shopdisney.com. This is coming out on August 10th, and it's the Sanderson sisters flying on a vacuum. There's no price on this item, but it will be coming out. So I'm interested. Q-Figs is pretty cool. They have a look all their own, but I'm kind of interested to see how this thing does.
Yeah, they do that the cute
cutesy.
figures.
Yeah, they did the Bat family with all the Robins. They did those turtle things I talked about last week. They did Harry Potter. I would say it's the man's precious moment.
Oh, cool.
I guess if I had to give it a description, maybe I would throw that out. I just threw it out there, so I guess I have to stick with it. So yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you to Brian Salvatore for our intro and outro music. Shared Universe Podcast Studio. And tomorrow is August 1st. You have 13 days to get on the Action Figure Adventure auction. Please join us at toyspodcast@gmail.com. You can listen to us on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and now iHeartRadio. Please give us a rating or a comment, or please do both. Follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us at Toylines. Facebook, you can find us at Toylines or Toy Shelf Magazine. Thank you once again.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.
And play with your toys. But tonight, here's some homework. Find a cartoon, any cartoon you like. Just watch it. Enjoy it. Bring somebody into it. Somebody you love. Yeah, watch your cartoons, folks. Have a good night.
Good night.